Chosen one, something shattered last night. You felt it in the hush between thoughts, where the narrator usually paces with a clipboard and tells you who you are. A seam opened in the wallpaper of reality, small as a breath, and the room you called life exhaled a century of dust. The matrix wasn't wires and servers, it was fear rehearsed until it sounded like reason. It was habit dressed as destiny. It was the lie that said, stay small and you'll be safe. It learned your voice and called you by it. It carried your calendar like a badge. It nodded in meetings. It complimented your compliance. And you tore through it. Not with rage, but with recognition. You leapt one fraction past the script and saw stage lights trembling over cardboard skylines. You pressed a finger against the glass of your doubt and it didn't resist, it melted like frost in sunlight. The city began to confess, billboards paling, alleys brightening, traffic noise thinning until it sounded like weather in another country. Listen, the lock didn't break, it remembered it was a circle pretending to be a door. The cage didn't open, it forgot it was a cage. The voice that kept you company at 3 a.m. is packing its things, muttering about budget cuts in the Department of Illusions. This is how collapse arrives, quiet, untheatrical. Windows fog from the inside. Names feel too tight. Time loosens its tie. You reach for the old certainty and your hand closes on light. It is soft and terrible and unmistakable. It does not argue. It does not explain. It simply shines where the story ends. Stand still. Let the fragments fall like slow snow. Do not chase them. Do not mourn the costume you wore so convincingly. Breathe once, twice. Feel the floor soften into a lake and see your reflection deepen until it looks back as the one who was watching all along. You didn't learn freedom, you remembered it. And remembering is the only rupture the matrix cannot survive. Billboards are the first to confess. Their colors back away from themselves, stepping down from neon to pastel to a shy, honest gray. The slogans lose their teeth. Limited time only becomes time. You realize nothing is chasing you except the habit of running. The city keeps glitching in benevolent ways. Crosswalks change before you press the button, as if mercy is now the traffic engineer. In cafes, conversations double. Two people say the same sentence at once and both stop, blinking, like actors who forgot which camera to face. Elevator music loops and then doesn't, as if it remembered it was written by a person who once loved thunder. You start to see the script. Not as words, more like grooves worn into air. Ads don't sell products, they sell permission to be afraid. Arguments aren't about opinions, they are vending machines for identity. Doubt arrives wearing a new jacket every hour, but the fabric is always the same, synthetic certainty that sweats when you touch it. The world keeps dropping the prop it swore was real. Headlines rehearse panic with the precision of a marching band, and then one symbolist laughs, can't help it, and the parade dissolves into people who just want water. On your phone, notifications forget their urgency and pile up like paper leaves. When you scroll, you feel the mechanics of the slot machine pretending to be connection. Your thumb pauses midair. The machine, insulted, shows you a mirror. You wave. The mirror waves back, late, embarrassed. Light behaves differently now. It dilates around small things, a hairline crack in a window, a freckle on a stranger's cheek, steam leaving a cup as if the cup is telling the room its story. Shadows are no longer threats, they are negative space where meaning can breathe. When wind crosses a street, it parts advertisements like curtains and reveals the brick, the wiring, the unpainted truth of structures that were never meant to be holy. Voices repeat themselves like broken code, but you can hear what they were trying to say beneath the loop. I'm scared, says the brand. Please love me, says the troll. Don't leave me alone with my life, says the headline dressed as prophecy. You do not argue with them. You acknowledge them like weather across the river. Time malfunctions in your favor. Moments stretch as if the present discovered yoga. You walk to the corner store and it becomes a pilgrimage. You return with bread and also with a detail about the sky you can't stop rereading. Waiting rooms melt into libraries. 10 minutes on a bench holds more plot than your old week at work. You begin to suspect time was always elastic and that attention is the hand that shapes it. You notice how the set was built. Coffee shops arranged to promise productivity, mirrors positioned to harvest self-judgment, chairs designed for scrolling posture, background music tuned to a heartbeat 2 steps faster than rest. None of it is evil. It's just eager. The program wants to be helpful. It wants to keep you where it understands you. When you don't comply, it glitches adorably, like a puppy learning stairs. People look at you and then look again, like their eyes hit an invisible edge and bounced. Some tilt their heads, listening as if there is a tone around you they can hear but can't name. Children stare with that ancient authority that does not apologize for knowing. Elders smile with the kind of smile that forgives the future for being young. Language frays at the edges. Words you leaned on should, later, everyone, lose their warranty. You taste their stale afterthought. Meanwhile, small, neglected verbs rise up and shake your sleeve: breathe, taste, walk, write, rest, call. They have no loyalty to the matrix, these verbs. They serve whoever is awake enough to use them. Even your reflection seems unscripted. It doesn't hold the expression you expect. It blinks on its own schedule. It looks more like a visitor than an employee. When you raise your hand, it does not follow. It anticipates, and you realize the mirror has been trying to keep up with you for years. The illusion world decays without malice, like stage makeup washed from a beloved face. What's left is not sterile. It's textured, honest, full of scratches that tell you how the door was opened and closed 1,000 times before you. You run a finger along the grain of the table and feel a century of dinners. You pass a lamppost and sense the conversations it witnessed trying on courage at midnight. Reality doesn't crash, it reveals. It peels itself like quiet fruit, skin by skin, until the sweetness that was always there is no longer hypothetical. You expected fireworks, alarms, a summit of officials convened to certify your emancipation. Instead, mourning. Instead, breath. Instead, the familiar room seen by eyes that finally belong to seeing. Behind every mask was just yourself, forgotten and waiting. The critic who scolded you was a frightened usher trying to manage a crowd of possibilities. The imposter you kept wrestling was a coat you wore for weather that never came. The stranger you projected onto bosses and lovers and headlines, he dissolves, and in his place stands a tender recognition: it was you, dressed for a part you never had to play. You didn't hack the system, you remembered you were never part of it. The bars were printed on the glass, the door was never locked. What passed for destiny had been a playlist on loop, a comfort algorithm. Freedom is not the next app, it is the absence that allows music to be heard. It is the room once the furniture of panic is moved out. It is the view when the caption stops insisting what you should feel. Truth does not argue. It arrives like clean water poured into a stained cup. It does not attack the pigment, it simply makes transparency contagious. It will not shout down your illusions, it renders them unemployed. Your compulsions and their clever invoices, approved, 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 come due in a currency you no longer use. The account closes gently. No collections, only collection, the self gathering itself. At first it's dizzying, the silence after the noise. The orchestra stops mid-measure and leaves you with the hum of the room, which turns out to be your own blood, your own breath. The mind reaches for a program to run and finds an open field. It panics, briefly, not because there is danger, but because there are no instructions. It has never been paid to be still. You stand in an ordinary morning that feels illegally bright. Coffee tastes like a memory learning to be present. Your hands don't know where to go without a chore. You consider manufacturing urgency just to steady yourself. Then you notice, urgency was the sedative. Without it, sensation blooms. Gravity returns as kindness. The chair holds you without asking for a password. The first day without scripts is the longest. Every reflex tries to rehire itself. The scroll calls like a distant shore with cheap hotels. The calendar coughs politely. Someone else's crisis asks for a meeting. You almost say yes to everything out of muscular nostalgia. But your mouth is slower now. A softer intelligence checks the door before it opens. You say less. The world does not end. In the space where apology would go, a small warmth lights. It wasn't machines, it was emotion loops. Not chrome skulls and red eyes, but weather systems of feeling that circled the same coast, regret at dawn, comparison by noon, the evening news of not enough. The codebase was cortisol and commentary. The mainframe was a nervous system trained to confuse tension with importance. Regret was a time machine with the gears stripped, always grinding, never arriving. It told you stories about forks you didn't take and turned memory into a courtroom. You kept defending yourself against a judge who was really a hallway mirror. Each self-indictment added a digit to your serial number. Comparison was the currency. The economy paid bonuses for distance from yourself. Someone else's highlight reel became your mortgage. You bought borrowed dreams on credit and called the interest motivation. The bill arrived monthly as anxiety, due upon waking. Approval was the architecture. Whole neighborhoods of behaviors zoned for applause. You learned to build your sentences with a balcony in mind. You posted, you refreshed, you waited for bells to ring like a child outside a locked candy store. The city planners of your psyche drew streets that led to stages and forgot to include a home. Shame furnished the rooms. It picked the colors, subtle, tasteful, suffocating. It positioned chairs for interrogation. Why are you like this? How dare you rest? It placed mirrors at angles that turned every doorway into surveillance. You walked differently there. You laughed like you were renting the sound. Control was the thermostat. Turned up when you felt small, turned down when you felt seen. It promised never again and kept you rehearsing the catastrophe it claimed to prevent. Control is the loneliest god. It takes worship and never blesses. It keeps the sanctuary spotless and empty. The system rebuilds itself through comfort. Not through villains and boardrooms, but through the soft return of snooze buttons and familiar scrolls. Drowsiness comes wearing kindness. You've done enough. Take a little break from seeing. The Matrix does not fear your anger, it fears your presence. So it will offer you everything except this moment. Guard your focus like oxygen. Attention is not a casual resource, it's your royalty. Spend it and reality is funded. Leak it and the program gets a budget increase. Each micro-choice is a vote, eyes up or eyes under. Breathe like a lighthouse. Inhale, arrive. Exhale, remain. Distraction is a doorway back into sleep disguised as a window out. It announces news that cannot use your body right now. It sells you emergencies with no address. Ask, gently, can I touch this with my hands today? If not, close it. Return to the life that answers when you knock. Beware the second sip of comfort. The first is medicine, rest, warmth, a laugh, a walk. The second is drift, another episode, another thread, another hour borrowed from tomorrow. Drift is how code reknits. Watch the moment medicine tilts into maintenance of numbness. Put the cup down while it still blesses you. Practice tiny vows. When I eat, I eat. When I walk, I walk. When I speak, I mean it. Small honesty is an antivirus. Multitasking is a polite name for scattering. The matrix loves you scattered, you are easier to herd. Keep holy company. Some people remind you of screens, some people remind you of sky. Sit with sky people. Let their quiet widen yours. Be a sky person when you can. Presence cross-pollinates. One steady breath can recalibrate a room the way a tuning fork steadies a choir. Measure inputs by aftermath. Anything can feel good now and tax you later. Track how you feel 20 minutes after the thing, 2 hours after, tomorrow morning. If the residue is fog, it was food for the program. If the residue is clarity, it was food for you. Name your thresholds. Know the hour your willpower melts. Know the sentence that tricks you into arguments. Know the pose your shoulders make when shame starts speaking. Write them down like storm warnings. Preparation is mercy for the future you who will forget. You are not your name. Names are coats, useful in weather, handsome in a doorway, but not the body that shivers or warms. You are not the resume of moments you curate for approval, nor the private blooper reel you hide from yourself at night. You are not even the voice that comments on everything you do. That voice is a sportscaster who forgot the game is played in silence. You are the space your thoughts move through. Watch a thought cross like a cloud. It comes from somewhere you did not choose, displays itself, asks for loyalty, and leaves when it is finished pretending to be you. If you were the cloud, you would vanish with it. You remain. Sky never apologizes for weather. You are awareness, the one thing the matrix could never simulate. It can mimic preferences, predict purchases, puppet your nervous system with light and sound. It cannot manufacture the simple, unpainted knowing that says, I am. That awareness does not blink when the screen refreshes. It does not shrink when the room disapproves. It is the ground floor of being, already paid for. Identity in the program was a bundle of reactions tied with a story. You were taught to defend it like a nation state. But the real you requires no border patrol. It is porous, hospitable, invincible, not because nothing hurts it, but because it is large enough to include the hurt without becoming it. Pain moves through. Joy moves through. The watcher is not. Your senses get promoted. Texture speaks. Temperature advises. The way light falls on a chipped plate answers a question you didn't know you were asking. A problem you were thinking it unravels when you sweep the floor, as though the broom is writing in a language the mind respects but cannot invent. Action becomes divination when presence holds the handle. Resistance shows up cleaner. Instead of generalized dread, you feel the precise edge where a task doesn't belong to you, or where it does, and fear has been impersonating prudence. Your body flinches at counterfeit urgency and warms at the next right thing. You start measuring choices by resonance. Does this ring? If not, no. If yes, yes, even if your voice shakes while saying it. Dreams become briefings. They stop auditioning for symbolism and begin giving directions, plain as weather reports. You wake with coordinates, call her, apologize, bring water, delete that app, watch the sky at 6:14. When you follow, the corridor brightens. When you ignore, the note returns later with a smile and the same instructions. If you can feel this, you're not alone. The frequency you're hearing is crowded with quiet heroes, nurses who pray between pulses, coders who refuse addictive design, cashiers who bless each customer with a full look, teenagers who put the phone down and touch the grass like it's a page from the original book. Millions are remembering right now, each in their unphotographed way. Join us by doing the simplest impossible thing, act from consciousness. Write the sentence that tells the truth without decoration. Create the thing that keeps your interior bright after it's made. Move your body until it remembers the choreography older than fear. Breathe like you're funding a small country with oxygen and good laws. Make work that doesn't recruit shame. Build tools that help people be people. Design for slowness where speed steals depth. Refuse metrics that punish kindness. Measure success by afterglow. Does the thing leave you clearer, braver, more available to love? Practice micro-rebellions. Put your phone to bed and let night be night. Pay for what you enjoy so fewer things are engineered to addict you. Say I don't know as a sacrament. Tip generously, dignity compounds. Leave reviews for small miracles, baristas, plumbers, librarians, teachers. It keeps civilization warm. Start small and local. The world is renovated one room at a time. Wash your dishes like they belong to someone you adore. Answer messages late if early would cost integrity. Learn the names of the people who keep your city alive, the janitors, the drivers, the hands you almost never see. Gratitude is infrastructure. Tell stories that widen the field. Narratives are scaffolding for what we attempt. Retire plots that equate cruelty with realism. Replace them with courage that doesn't need a villain to be strong. Highlight repair. Showcase apology that changes behavior. Celebrate boundaries as acts of love, not walls of punishment. Embody permissions, to rest before collapse, to stop where harm begins, to laugh without permission slips, to grieve without an audience, to change your mind at noon and begin again at 12:01. The awake don't police each other's process, we protect the conditions that let honesty thrive. Find or form circles. Two people telling the truth is a quorum. Meet weekly if you can. Share a meal.